Hello! In today's episode, we're going to discuss the attentiveness of the practicer. Now, this applies most especially to those who are teaching or who are really diving pretty deep with this stuff. So, some people might notice after you attend a retreat, or if you do a retreat for yourself, or if you're just in a part of your rhythm that is bringing in crazy amounts of energy at any spectrum of the vibrational scale, that you start being a different type of effect. You start having a different type of effect in the world. Now, people who are teaching need to be very aware of this, because just like as a byproduct of people coming to train with you, everyone who's coming is opening themselves up as much as possible to you so that they can receive the teaching to the best of their ability. And this is a subconscious habit that pretty much any student is going to have, is to open themselves up as fully as possible. So we want to be aware of that and have enough respect for this that we can conduct the place from which we are teaching and the place or the spectrum that we're teaching to in the students, so as not to pressurize things that facilitate our own ego. So there's that great little quote from Spider-Man: with great power comes great responsibility. So as your energy starts to develop, as your refinement of mind starts to develop, we need to take this into consideration. So many people, when they get into teaching, the reason for teaching is to enhance the self-image. And this becomes an issue if your goal is to enhance your own self-image through teaching. Then the purpose of teaching is, hey, look at all the important things I have to say, look at the special things I can do, blah, blah, blah. And now the act of teaching is debilitating your own spiritual growth and debilitating the growth of the people that you're teaching. It might function at a certain level to create some energetic skill in the students or whatever it is that you might be teaching, but you're stabilizing their own identity, you're stabilizing your own identity, you're pedestalizing yourself, you're whatever the opposite of pedestalizing is, the students, right? And this creates issues as time goes on. So, when we start recognizing that we're having an effect that is much stronger, we have to look at what it is that we are actually doing. What's our actual goal when it comes to teaching? What's the purpose behind it? And so the students that I have that are teachers and maybe have been teaching for decades, you do some training that involves this sort of higher octane energetic and spiritual dissolution type of stuff, and you start hyper pressurizing your own stuff in your students. We want to be aware of this so that we can then be particular about what it is that we are seeing in a student. So what does this mean? Well, we all know, if we've done even a little bit of meditative practice, retreats, whatever, that what you touch with the mind grows, right? And I say this plenty on this channel: what you touch with the mind grows. Now, it grows within you. If you have a thought and you feed it with your own attention and mental energy, that thought grows. If you have a feeling and you hone your mind in on that feeling, you feed energy into that emotion, whatever, and it grows. It's the same as a pain. If we feel a physical pain in the body and we localize the attention on how much it hurts, that pain can grow, right? Because we are feeding energy into a particular shape. More energy goes in, it basically increases the PSI, we could say, of that particular pain or form, whether it be mental, astral, or physical. So we need to know that, because if we have an increased amount of energy that is connected to our very attentiveness itself, what we touch with the mind grows in ourselves or in other people. So if you touch somebody else's pain of mind, pain of emotion, pain of body, to whatever spectrum you're and through paths you're capable of, you will be feeding those forms with your energy, with your attentiveness, and increasing them. So that we could consider, we might think of that as something that's quite rude, we could say, is to look at somebody, to see their flaws, to pressurize their flaws, to pressurize their pains. Now you'll get a whole spectrum of people on the spiritual path, teachers, etc., who take a tremendous amount of pride in being able to look at somebody and like make them just break down and cry on the spot or whatever. There's a tremendous, it's pretty gross actually, as you start to tune into it. There's a tremendous amount of pride in just hyper pressurizing other people's pain. Why? Because if you induce that in somebody, then you can help them work through it, and you can now rob them of their entire experience through which they could be cultivating sovereignty and greater and more refined unity. You take that and you rob it, you take that growth for yourself. All that stuff, you go, I helped you through this, that, the other thing. This is very, very, very common. And you want to be super tuned in to if the person that you are training with has that type of mentality. Because that is really, really gonna hold you back. Now, okay, so we have that side of things, right? Now, if we can observe something, observe a particular psycho-emotional, physical scarring, habit, whatever, in the absence of judgment, in the absence of the need to facilitate our own growth or to stabilize our own identity through judging that particular thing, then it starts to dissolve on its own. And this doesn't mean that we are looking at that particular problem and trying to do release to it, trying to alleviate it and open it up and allow it to move. This starts to become a byproduct of your presence if you develop this in yourself. So your own non-judgment and non-attachment to your own issues, right? Your own stagnations of mind, of emotion, of body, that starts to permeate through your field. And then when you're working with people, you can, just through being in your presence, that will apply. So now, instead of taking your attention and hyperpressurizing somebody's astral body, right? Or somebody's mental body, somebody's physical body. And of course, the things that you pressurize, they could be not negative, they could be positive, but they will still be facilitating a type of pride and identity. So then you move further and you start to, from your openness, from your akasha, from your spirit, you start to become tuned to and attentive to, you start to attend from your spirit to the spirit or the light that is sitting across from you. And as you're becoming more capable of this, you are then teaching spirit to spirit. This becomes a very high level transmission because you are literally tuning spirit to spirit. This is much different than teaching tricks of the mind, teaching energetic work, or teaching body work. All of those things are useful and apply, but they are merely, what we almost might say, a distraction. It's just stuff to help the conscious mind of the student make its way back to that refinement that you're sharing spirit to spirit, mind to mind. So we really, really want to explore this and be sure that we aren't pressurizing, we could say like, devotion in the students to pedestalize the teacher, because that will facilitate a sheep, right? We aren't you can't move or progress freely if you are pridefully a sheep, right? A sheep to your teacher. The same as you cannot keep progressing spiritually in a liberative manner if you are pedestalizing yourself in relation to your students. Now, some people need to impose or will try to impose a type of pedestalization, and this can express itself in different ways, whether it be a desire for servitude, to serve the teacher. It might be more like carnal desires, sexual desires. It might be taking care of the teacher, whether it be, you know, cooking for them or cleaning or attending in different ways. And perhaps there's a time and a place for all of these things. But the place from which all of this is acted out becomes crucially important. And the goodwill towards the student becomes crucially important. Just as the teacher needs to see the student in a way that is free, spirit to spirit, hopefully the student can also progress in such a way that they can see that in the teacher and not try to impose limitations onto the teacher, because this creates baggage for the teacher to release as well. So, you know, it's not uncommon for teachers to keep, you know, most students at arm's length and have a crew of sort of, you know, inner circle type of people that they might spend more time with and be more open on a personal level with. So anyway, the point being, what you touch with the mind grows, whether that be what you touch in yourself or what you touch in others. If you're in the place of being a teacher, take some responsibility and do your best to touch the highest in others with your attentiveness. Now, this does not mean that from your lowest self, you create a cacophony of images and whatever of what that person's specific best is. Because then you look at a person and you're imposing form onto their future. We want to move at a higher level than that. We can be better than trying to impose our own idea of what that person's best is. So this seeing somebody for everything that they can be is so much more than these finite impositions of career or this particular action or that action or whatever. This comes from the place, your own spirit, your own light, your own openness, emptiness, that luminosity. And it is seeing that luminosity of another. And that dissolves the separation, and this creates that sort of fuel on the fire connection and dissolution into more of that cosmic type of spiritual mind. This is really, really important because, once again, if we are imposing a particular frame onto that student, then that, once again, is very, very often self-referencing, self-identification, and it is, we're very often doing that to feel good about our own projections of, you know, many spiritual folks like to express things that they feel or they think they're intuiting, but very, very often it's simply just a little bit of, you know, phenomenal stuff that comes into form for a second and falls away. So we just want to be careful of that, okay? What you touch with the mind grows in yourself, in others. Do your best to, from your own spirit, from your own highest light, touch the light of somebody else, see the light of somebody else, attend to that light. Now, this leads us into one little problem, in that very often if you are attending to a very refined aspect of another person, it might be beyond their own perceptual capacity at this time. And when you're doing that, that person might not feel seen, right, or feel felt from the layer of frequency that they're tuned into identifying with. So if they're very tuned into astral feedback for their sense of containership, identity, sense of self, if they're tuned into the astral, but you're not, we could say, pressurizing those astral shapes, then that student or that person will often feel not seen, not important. If somebody's used to communicating and connecting from the layer of mind, let's say on the mental plane more, that mind to mind, from intellectual type of connection, right, for their sense of identity and being important, and you are seeing something more refined than that, once again, it might not feel seen or feel like they're being connected with from that level, physically, obviously, as well. And this can give rise to just huge amounts of insecurity in people, because they can feel that to you, they feel unimportant in your gaze. And this can, in some ways, serve to help construct a lot of those mental and astral structures of clinging to that particular density of identity. But there is also a time and a place and an amount of meeting people where they can feel that. So it really depends on where you're working from as a teacher. If you are working from the place of offering spiritual liberation, that can come very much in contrast to the pressurization of somebody's feel-good sense of self, mentally or astrally. So we want to be aware of this, and learn how to navigate ourselves as honestly as possible in such a way that there is the full scope of everything. Because if you're working from that higher plane, everything exists within that. So that doesn't mean things are devoid of those energies. And it might be that by only working from that space, people leave and they find other teachers to train with who do make them feel special in one way or another. So, that can then hold people back once again. So it is tricky, and, a lot of these videos kind of come with an end caveat of, I don't know, right? You're going to do what you're going to do. And people are going to perceive what they're going to perceive. But one of the goals as we move forward is to open people's perceptual capacities more and more and more and more, so that the relationship to perception can come from a place of the infinite as opposed to the finite lower aspects of identity. Okay, I think that's everything for this one. I hope this answers the questions on teaching for those of you who are engaging in teaching. And also we might add that along with this, I do get emails from people asking to teach, stuff from the online courses or whatever. And I can't stop anyone from doing anything. You're going to do what you're going to do. I would hope that anyone who's going to teach stuff, especially if you're offering it under the umbrella of spiritual type stuff, that you have a really good, thorough background, thorough experience with what it is that you're going to share, and that you take a strong look at your motivations for teaching, that you actually have goodwill towards the people that you're teaching, and that you're not teaching simply to facilitate your own importance to yourself. So 1, check your volitions. 2, have a really solid amount of experience with the stuff that you're going to be sharing. If you don't have a vast store of experience, then share it honestly from the place of, I just learned this the other day. I found it really helpful. Maybe you will as well. Do your best not to share it from a place of authority if it's something that you have no experience with. Because once again, you slow yourself down when you do that, just as much as you slow other people down. Okay, so that would be my advice to people who are wanting to share stuff and teach stuff, is to really make sure that you have a lot of experience with it. Instead of, having done, a meditation a couple of times, or, you go to a workshop once or whatever, go to the training, engage with the training, and then on your own, really, really pull it apart, unwind it, because there's so many nuggets in there. If we find that we are simply repeating things that we heard on a video or that somebody told us, then it's not, can it be helpful? Yes. But we might say in one sense it's not really authentic. And so both sides, teacher and student, both slow down with that type of approach. There's no need to teach immediately, to be a teacher immediately. Teaching can, in some ways, accelerate your growth, but also it can decelerate and stagnate your growth. So we really want to have deep experience with what it is that we're sharing, so that we can share it in such a way that it's easy for somebody to pick up. If we're sharing it from a place of not being very familiar with it, having an intimate understanding of what it is that we're teaching, then we will often share things in such a way that it's kind of very hard for somebody to pick up. It's difficult because we don't embody it. We don't embody it through the mind, through the astral feelings, through the body. It's not understood deeply through the spirit, and that'll slow people down. When you do have all this, the acquisition, we could say, of the teachings can be very, very easy, right? Because it's just this, as opposed to, it's this really incredibly convoluted thing. Now, I know that the way that I speak is often very convoluted, so make what you will of that. Okay, I think that's everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. Thanks for your time watching. And if you're interested in training, there's a retreat coming up. You can check the website out for that. Also, of course, the online training programs. We have the Zen Den, which is a Q&A reference library, video reference library. It's got hundreds of videos up at this point, and any questions you have about the courses or whatever you might be working through, you just fire off an email and I'll throw a video up for you as soon as I'm able. This, of course, accompanies the Hermetic Alchemy Qi Gong meditation program online and the Tai Chi program there as well. Right, that's everything. Bye.